Oh, go on then. Folks, we've only gone and got Mickey's son on the box today.
He'll love that one.
Where are we, Connor, then, and what are we doing?
We're on the Piper Lake,
Mm.
a lake they've actually never fished before. I've been on Willow, which joins to it. We're basically fishing for some of these and the bigger brothers. Yeah, just running it through like basically commercial silverfish fishing, loads of skimmers, loads of roach, loads of bites, basically what you want to be doing in winter.
Right then, Connor, we've got some maggots, expanders, micros, and a bit of ground bit here. What is this all about?
So today we've got two of my favourite ground baits. We've got the crushed expander and the F1 sweet. They're both very light ground baits. The expander explains itself. It's basically crushed expander, and the F1 sweet has got a lovely like smell, like attractant to it. So 50-50 together, they're perfect for skimmer fishing for me. The micro pellets, they are basically just another attractant for the fish. They're like a bit of grubbins on the bottom for the skimmers to pick up. We can add more into the mix if we're catching more, or not as many if we're not catching as many. Sometimes, if the water wasn't as coloured and it was a bit cooler, you know, we've had a couple of frosts, that's when I'd go to the F1 dark. I'd probably mix it 50-50 with either one of these ground baits, half F1 dark, half one of these. That's if the fish aren't as confident. We want a bit of a darker ground bait on the bottom rather than a light one. But for today, when it's hopefully going to be good, we're going to use the light ground baits. And then hook bait choices, we've just got maggots, obviously the best bait in the world, just catch you everything that swims. I'm going to throw some short for roach and stuff, maybe an odd skimmer, and then I'm not going to loose feed any long, but we'll put some on the hook. They can use either single maggot, double maggot, maybe even dead maggots on the hook. And then just 4mm natural expanders by Mainline. They're perfect for just fishing over the top of these, catching skimmers and stuff. On a lake like this today, we're on Piper Lake. If you actually look into the lake, it's just an open lake.
Yeah.
There's not really, apart from down the edges and stuff, there's not really any features in the lake. Actually plumbing up, when you come really close to yourself, there's an inside shelf. So where I'm choosing to fish short here is just where it's nice and flat. So if I come back a little bit, I know on bottom of that shelf, I'm not on the slope. And if I go past, it's just the same. I'm fishing it at like 6 metres where it's perfect for me to throw bait.
Nice and comfortable.
Nice and comfortable. I'm looking to catch roach and maybe an odd skimmer there. Long pole, I'm aiming to get middle of the lake, basically.
Yeah, where that fish just stopped there.
Not that far, but yeah. Basically, middle of the lake is where the skimmers would patrol. So I'm looking at aiming to get as far out as I can into the main area of the lake. Basically, with the shelves, the lake just plumbs up very similar all over. I'll ship out to 13 metres.
It's very flat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very flat.
It's not like normal venues, is it, where it's like there's a little bit of a shelf somewhere and then on the far
Exactly,
back there's a bit of a far shelf.
Even on like snake lakes and stuff, like it goes ever so slightly deeper out there, maybe an inch, 2 inch deeper.
Not changed much at all,
Not changed at all, but you would think that's probably the deepest part of my peg. If you are going to catch skimmers, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be in the deepest water.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm aiming for them long into the open water and rope short. So I'm going to talk you through my short line now. We've basically just got a super simple rig, a strung bulk in like the bottom third of the rig, because we're fishing for everything that swims. Skimmers, roach, F1s, sturgeon, perch, eels, anything.
Imagine if we catch an eel today.
Imagine. I'm basically just fishing a red maggot, just hooked the original way.
The original?
The original way, not through the top. Well, depends what you class as the top and the bottom, but...
For the flat end?
Yeah.
Not the pointy end?
Not the pointy end, through the flat end.
Why have you done it that way?
I just think that sits so much nicer, trying to fish for silverfish when you've got one maggot on the hook. If I was fishing 3 or 4 maggots on the hook for like F1s in summer, I'd hook them the other way because it stops the maggots going over the point as much.
Yeah.
But that fatter end, it just looks better now, doesn't it?
Looks nice,
it just looks nicer. So yeah, basically on the short line, I've just been loose feeding a few maggots.
Yeah.
Cupping a little bit of ground bait in now and again, and I'm just going to flip my rig slightly past, let that strung bulk settle out.
It's a good thing with that shotty pen, isn't it? When you flick it out, it flutters down lovely and slow, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's just falling nicely into the peg now. So if there is a fish on the drop now, it'll give me a bite. If I don't, it'll settle up anyway. But basically, we're just fishing for bites, everything that swims, and hopefully I'll catch you one. A little skimmer.
They're so finicky, these small skimmers, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like, having shot it, but having your presentation that way, like having a strung out bulk,
Yeah.
is so important to catch these sort of fish.
Yeah, because there's been so many today where we have caught them as it's settling up.
Yeah.
And you just know they're lingering around the bottom. So I think if you just like lowered your rig straight in, you'd miss out on probably half the fish.
Yeah.
So again, I'm just going to flip my rig out, pass my bait, loose feed some maggots.
And hopefully it'll go as it's falling.
Yeah. It looked like it was going to then. So I normally look at about, I'd say you don't want to be leaving your float still in your peg for more than a minute. Like if you've not, especially like on this short line, long line for skimmers, completely different. I'll talk to you about that later on, but with this short line, if you're going to catch one, it's within a minute, 2 minutes max. So
Yeah.
I'd flip my rig in, let it settle up. If you've not had one within a minute, lift and drop your rig, leave it 20 seconds. If you've not caught one, throw some maggots. And a lot of the time, little like tricks like that, lifting your rig, you might lower it back in and it goes and you catch one. Sometimes flick some maggots, and within 10-15 seconds when them maggots are starting to go down, the amount of times your float goes under and you're like, I knew that was going to happen. So yeah, you just need to be active really. You just need to like
Keep busy.
Sometimes even if you've not had a bite, just flick your rig back in, and sometimes it'll just be settling up and you'll catch one that you never would have caught if you'd have just sat there. So I'm just going to lift that up now.
Obviously, you're just lifting out just like the float length sort of thing.
Yeah, just like the float length, trying to attract one. Lower it back in. Little bubble just come up there, and there we go.
Oh, couldn't get a better example then, could you?
No.
Oh, lovely.
Little skimmer.
Gorgeous.
Perfect. Hey up.
Straight in the land.
So this is my short rig. Starting with the elastic, we've just got a nice 11's hybrid elastic. It's really, really soft. Going on to my main line, I've got 0.15 N gauge, just a couple of back shots sat there above me float, which is a 0.3 F1 carbon. I'm using this float today because it's roughly about 4 foot deep. It's a nice slim float, so when I'm like flicking my rig out, fishing through the water, it settles up nicely. It'll show me that slow fall and I can read all the bites. If I was using like a round-bodied float, you can't really do that. You can't really fall through the water with a round-bodied float. Like heaviness-wise, 0.3 is perfect for like up to 4, maybe even 5 foot. After that, you want to be looking at heavier floats, and it's not too light that it's not going to get to the bottom. Going down the rig, I've got like a nice strung-out shotting pattern over like probably the bottom third of my rig, just number 10s and then some 11 droppers. Going down on some hook length, I've got a 6-inch hook length, 010 supernatural and an 18's F1 maggot, basically because we're fishing maggots. So one thing that I really do like to do when I'm fishing for skimmers especially, I like to really over wet my ground bait. So I've got my dry bucket there, which I've just mixed that normally, and I'll keep that there. I'll mix this up. This might last me say an hour, 2 hours, depending on how much I'm feeding. Hopefully it'll last me about half an hour if it's solid.
You're catching loads.
Yeah, if I'm catching a load and filling it in. I really like to over wet it, so basically make it. I'll have like a tub of water on my side tray,
Yeah.
and I'll just dead easy just over wet it loads.
You're proper putting a load of water in there, aren't you?
Just really, really over wet it. So it's like soup basically. When I'm putting that in the water then, it's a real attractant to the skimmers. It's giving off a lovely cloud. It's going down in the water really quickly. On some days when it might be a really windy day and the tow's pulling through, your cloud might be going out your peg, so you might need to feed a bit of a drier ground bait. So that's why I always keep my dry ground bait just in case conditions change, but I'll do a little bit at a time. So if you look at that now,
Do a little bit of time so you don't literally mess up your whole
yeah,
ground in
so
case you want to change.
messing up my whole day, yeah. It's basically like that, and then I can add my micros in, depending how many I want at a time. I'll just mix a few in now for the time being.
Like you said earlier, if you're catching a load, you put a load more in. If you're not catching as many, you'll make a new mix with less micros in. But you got it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Are you standing up for a skimmer, Connor?
Get me some more sections.
What we got here?
I think it's a foul hook skimmer.
Do you?
I think. He's a big one though.
Whatever it is. We don't mind a foul hook if we come in.
No, as long as we get him in.
This is in the mouth.
Oh.
It doesn't look very... Tell you what, Connor.
It might be in the mouth.
Isn't it?
Might be fluked.
Good chance here.
Feeling the pressure now.
It can't be a bream fighting like this.
Surely not.
Must have a bit of hybrid in him. Don't lose it.
Oh, he's an F1.
It's an F1?
It's a big
We were
F1.
saying it's a bream.
I thought it was a bream. At least I can say I stood up for an F1 now.
Yeah. But if that was a bream and you stood up for it, that would have been...
Oh, did you see that for a scoop?
I can't believe what I've just seen then. Andy would be proud, wouldn't he? And Mickey would be proud.
Mickey would.
Fair play, great
sensational scoop that, wasn't it? So we're going to have a go along now, and even though I'm fishing the same float as I am short, it's a completely different shotting pattern. So I've got literally just a bulk and 2 droppers spread like 6 inches apart, whereas we was fishing a strung out rig short. This is mainly for the fact that out long, I'm not loose feeding, I don't want to be catching fish through the water. I'm just cupping bait in. I want to pin them skimmers to the bottom, put my rig in and try and catch one. On this rig, a couple more positive droppers, so they're actually number 10 droppers rather than my number 11s that I was fishing short. Again, like I said, I'm not trying to catch them through the water. And with skimmers, they're renowned for giving you lift bites. So with a number 10 closer to my hook, I know if one does pick it up, my float's going to pop out the water, give me a lift bite. Whereas with a number 11, it's not quite as big. So you're not going to read them lift bites quite as well. If you've seen how I laid my rig in there, it's completely different to short. I always flip my rig past, just so it's not in a tangle underneath me. But then I held it like 8 inch out the water, waited for my rig to straighten up underneath, and then I just lowered it in slowly. And with this long line, you can afford to sit on it a little bit longer. You're not, when I said before about fishing short, after a minute, if you've not caught one, throw some bait, lift your rig. With this, you can bide your time a bit. You can wait like 2-3 minutes, maybe even 4 minutes if you've not caught one, because you're fishing for like a bigger stamp fish. If you sit here for 3 minutes and it goes under and you catch a 2-pound skimmer, happy days.
That's a better one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one, mate. So I've just actually done something a little bit different there. I was catching some skimmers, a lot of like small 3-4 ounce ones, and I've just added quite a few more micros to my mix, and it's definitely made a difference because now all of a sudden I'm catching a few better ones like that. So this time of year, I wouldn't start by like piling loads of micros into your mix, but just ease your way into a session, put some in to start, and if you feel like the stamp's not big enough, there's a few fish in your peg, you can up it a bit. You can always add quite a bit more to your mix, so it's definitely worked for us today. So my long rig, basically exactly the same as my short rig. Same elastic, same main line, same float. The only bit of a difference is when you get down to the bottom half of the rig, I've just got a bulk rather than a strung out shotting pattern with 2 number 10 droppers, basically because we're not bombing the bait down, but we're not fishing through the water. We want to have a nice fall and be able to hold that in position. And then my hook length, I've got a 6 inch 010 Supernatural onto an 18s F1 pellet, which is a slightly heavier hook. It's a bit more rounded, so it allows me to fish expanders, it allows me to fish maggots, gives me a bit of freedom to choose what baits to put on the hook. So yeah, that's that rig. Oh, well, I think that might be a perfect fish to end on. Had a great day here today, catching some silvers, and hopefully you've learnt a few tips and tricks and you catch a load of these over the coming winter. A load of them, not the leaves.